Welcome to Party Chat. This is our gaming podcast, so a joint venture from NeoAeia and Good Kent Gaming. I'm Justin of Good Kent Gaming. I'm joined by Mitchell and Aaron of NeoAeia.
Hello.
Hey. So look, this week we're just going to be talking a little bit about what we've been playing, and as most of you know, PAX Australia 2019 recently wrapped up. So we'll go over a bit of games we saw there and what we're looking forward to. I guess off the bat, what I've been playing this week is Rage 2, which I actually picked up at PAX. It was on special at the infamous EB Games Mega Store. So far enjoying it. It's a pretty good FPS. There's stuff I don't like about it, but so far it's been pretty good just to like zone out to and just, shoot people, really. But compared to Rage 1, it's completely different. I was hoping for more of a better storyline. Unfortunately, there's not much of a story there, but gameplay-wise, I can't fault it. The abilities and, the weapons in there, I guess especially coming from id Software, it's got like that Doom feeling. You run around, you shoot people, you just have a blast, really. For me, that's kind of it. I got off of Odyssey, which I was playing last week, just because it got way too long. And after like 40 hours, I couldn't do it anymore. So I might jump back into it later. But for now, it's all Rage 2. What have you boys been playing?
I've been playing Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, the remaster.
Nice.
Well, when I have been trying to play it, my my partner's been playing it more than I have at the moment. She seems to enjoy it a lot more than I do. So, so guess I lost my Switch to that one. But been playing.
That's where you moved to buy the Switch Lite, mate. You've got an excuse now.
Well, she took my Xbox because the Game Pass came out and Viva Pinata was on it. So she's played all of Viva Pinata. So claimed my Xbox while trying to play Borderlands. And then now that she played Legend of Zelda at PAX, she's wanted that. And so I bought her that. And now she hasn't stopped playing it. So I don't have a Switch or an Xbox now.
It's usually the way, mate. That's what girlfriends and wives do. This is mine now, so
you
bugger off.
Bad there. She just rolled you for everything good.
Pretty much. But when I'm not playing that, I'm been playing a lot of the MS-DOS games that have come out. So got into Zargon, which was an old classic of mine when I played when I was a kid. So, but apart from that, I haven't.
School as.
It is, man, real old. But apart from that, I haven't really been playing too much else. Oh, and Pokemon Masters on my mobile. But that's pretty much it.
What's that one? Is that different than Pokemon Go?
Yeah, it is a lot different. It's kind of like a cross between like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and like the main Pokemon games.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get into mobile games. They kind of end up shitting me because you play for 10 minutes and it's like, hey, you want to spend $20? Nah, I'm fucking all right, mate.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true.
Mitch, what have you been playing, buddy?
So this week I picked up Arcade Unchained, which is off of Steam, which you can buy for, I think it was like $34 or something like that. So Arcade's original, the MMORPG online was free to play, but a lot of it was pay to win. And Arcade Unchained is the complete opposite. Everything is achievable in game, but you just got to pay for the game, which I was happy to do because the game is absolutely amazing. Apart from that, that's pretty much it, actually. I've been sinking a fair few hours into that, leveling up a character as quickly as possible.
Nice, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have as much time for gaming as I used to, unfortunately, between work and just life. But so look, that's what we've been playing this week. Unfortunately, not a great deal, but life gets in the way. What can you do?
Busy time, yeah.
So mate, is it ever?
That's true.
Work, you got Christmas is around the corner, which everyone keeps reminding me of. I went to Kmart yesterday, and they've already got it like a dedicated section just the Christmas stuff, and I'm
dreading it. My line of work is retail. Sucks around Christmas. You can't even enjoy Christmas because you got to wait for Boxing Day, and that's just going to be hell.
I don't envy that, mate. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, stuff that.
Everybody jumps a bandwagon, and then soon as Boxing Day ends, all the Easter shit's in the stores, and it's like that's 4 months away, man. What are you doing?
Every time.
It's too early. Too early.
Way too early. but you know what? You got to get that, I don't know, holiday money. Um, so us boys, obviously together and separately, we attended PAX this year, so PAX Australia 2019. Most of you guys may know that's a pretty big gaming event down here. It used to be the EB game. There used to be a separate EB Games expo, but they've kind of joined forces with PAX now. So I think we just get PAX. I don't think we have the EB Games expo, whatever that was, anymore.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore because
No.
they meshed it together. I used to go to the EB Expo all the time, but I guess it made sense for them just to merge PAX and EB together, I guess.
Why not? They probably save money and they sell more.
Yeah, exactly.
PAX this year, it was look, from my side of things, I attended it for a different reason. I work with a different publication as well. But there was a lot of Australian indies on display, which was awesome. I did find it pretty interesting, though, that a lot of the major titles were there, but they didn't have playable demos. So we had Cyberpunk 2077. I saw people lining up, and there was a huge line. I think it was like an hour wait. And then I found out it was just a trailer. There was no
Yeah.
gameplay. It was basically people lining up to sit down to watch a trailer. You can probably watch on YouTube, which was stupid. Same with Death Stranding, and that surprised me. You seen it? It's only a month away. I think it's November 7th it comes out.
November 8th from memory.
8th.
Yeah.
So day off, but we live in that's like 2 weeks, and to not have a demo at a pretty huge gaming event, maybe to capitalize on getting people to see it, that kind of for me raised a little bit of red flags. I thought, if they're not showing a demo this close out from release, is there something wrong with it? Like, do they not have faith in the product?
Yeah, we thought the same too, because Mitch and I were both there as well, and I was looking forward to Death Stranding because they had a big mural there and everything, and it was like, oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. And then we went and chatted to the Sony reps, and they're on the floor, and they're like, oh yeah, just to let you know, you got to book in a time, but it's just a trailer from the Tokyo Game Show, but here's a free album.
I know. Completely
But
stupid.
it was. Yeah, I was really looking forward to the Cyberpunk stuff though. But like as we walked past, we saw people go from the line to sitting down just to watch a trailer that we'd already seen. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
it's stupid. I mean, I just got a free
Oh
poster.
yeah, it's
but
like, what's going on here? This is PAX. This is where you get a hands-on experience, not come to watch trailers that have already been released for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's the same with Death Stranding. They're like, oh yeah, it's the trailer from the Tokyo Game Show and that was like only a few weeks ago, and I was like, I've seen this trailer like multiple times now from doing episodes of Free to Play. Why would we have to book in a time just to watch a trailer? Like, this is so stupid.
Exactly. But I did actually have one of my colleagues did mention like a pretty good reason for why they didn't show Death Stranding. I mean, have Death Stranding as a playable demo. It comes down to the fact that with the way Death Stranding is like structured as a game, it might be pretty hard. So if you had like a 10-15 minute block to play it, it might be pretty hard to sort of showcase a good section of that game to sort of, play, because it seems like it's a pretty broad game. There's a lot of mechanics going on. So for them to try and squeeze that into like a 10-minute playable demo, it might have sort of not been putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Kind of get, but also it's very weird.
Well, there was the trailer with Norman Reedus. He walks around the room putting on different clothes and stuff. So I don't know why they couldn't just make a tech demo of that. I mean, sure, it wouldn't be that enjoyable, but at least it'd be something.
kind of,
it gives you a feel for it.
It give you a feel of the way the character moves, at least. And no doubt everyone would be trying to jump and swing and everything like that just to try and get a feel. But
for being such a hype game, it's absolutely insane. It's almost, I don't know if it's just if they don't care or they don't have faith in the product, but yeah, just to not have anything in any sort of gameplay whatsoever, extremely weird.
Well, speaking of not having anything, I thought the same about EA. Like, both Mitch and I were walking on the floor and we were like, well, where's Mr. EA stuff? Like, they only had Plant vs. Zombies, but it's like, where's your Need for Speed Heat or, Jedi Fallen Order that comes out in like 2 or 3 weeks? Where's that? Like,
I was surprised at that one, Jedi Fallen Order.
I felt like PAX this year was more focused towards entertainment rather than playable demos. For instance, it just seemed to me a lot more of the space was taken up by stages for competition. Like the PUBG area was huge. Then the guys on the main stage were playing Fortnite for a large amount of time. Fortnite was on pretty much every console and computer going around that they were showing whatever product they were doing.
And then it blanked out of existence when they did their whatever chapter 2, whatever it is. I don't play Fortnite, but I heard
the black hole event that happened last week.
Yeah, and people freaked the fuck out. They're like, "Oh, the game's crashed and it's never coming back." It's a weird thing for them to do, but still, I don't really care about Fortnite. If I'm
I
being
actually
honest.
think that's a
Well, it
I think
works.
it's a freaking awesome strategy. What a way to drop a bomb! Like, just golden.
Well, marketing wise, they got talked about in every news platform. Everyone was talking about it. They had the most amount of streamers on both on Twitch, YouTube, and hardly anyone on Mixer, but that's no surprise. But every other platform.
They got Ninja on Mixer.
Well, yeah, that's
whatever.
true. They got Ninja. That's right. But
He's getting paid like $2 million or whatever.
But yeah, it was talked about on every platform because we've never seen this kind of event before, where it's like a big colossal event that happens out of nowhere, just for them to reset a whole season. Like, it'd be like the equivalent of like Destiny 2, instead of releasing a new DLC, they just nuked the whole game for a week and then was like, yeah, come back in a week, guys, when we got everything sorted.
Yeah. Well, someone in their marketing department's probably getting a pretty good paycheck for thinking of that idea. Just walks into the executive office like, hey, here's my idea. Just shut the game down. And then
let's just shut
put
the
it back
game down
up.
for a week, make people have withdrawals like it's a drug.
Yeah.
And,
all the 13-year-olds just screaming at the parents.
And then we'll just release a new map and pretend like it's a whole new game.
Yeah. It'll all be cuter, guys. Trust me. This is going to work out. But yeah, that was weird. But I think, look, you know what? With PAX, I was actually pretty happy with, besides all the, the AAA games, that was pretty disappointing. But the indies, there was a lot of like Australian made, even Melbourne made indie games, which I found extremely interesting. There's a lot there that I just, never even heard of. But after like sort of seeing it and getting a feel for what those sorts of people were developing, I think there's a pretty good scene down here. And it seems like maybe now more than ever, Australia, especially Melbourne's becoming a very good place for game developers to sort of set up shop. As most people are probably aware, Untitled Goose Game, that came out, that went like gangbusters with everyone. I think everyone in the world with a Switch has played that game. And that was made in Melbourne by like 3 blokes. So it's a good sign for us as, Australians.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you've got that new game company that's come to Australia. The guy, I'm trying to remember his name. He opened Summerfall Studios, but I think he used to work on like Fallout or something.
He used to work for BioWare, I think.
BioWare, that's it. Yeah, he used to work for BioWare, and he's come down under now too.
Yeah,
opened his own studio.
I think. I can't remember the bloke's name, but I know what you mean. He opened a studio down here with someone else as well. So it's pretty interesting, and I'm hoping it comes back more, because we've had some devastating things. Like if people remember Team Bondi, they made LA Noir, and that was like a huge event. They did it with Rockstar, and for whatever reason, after that game came out, they shut down. I think they didn't have the amount of sales they were expecting, and they just got closed straight up.
Which is a shame, because LA Noire is like a cult classic now. Like everyone's played LA Noire at least once, and like even the VR files that came out, that was a pretty cool experience. So it kind of feels like Rockstar closed them down and was like, oh, it wasn't that great, and then all of a sudden everyone started playing, and they're like, oh, well, let's milk it for money now.
Well, that's it, man. And look, it's not a perfect game by any means. I get it's no GTA. They're not making... Well, GTA is a different story entirely. But yeah, it was just... I think they had a good idea. It was some new, technology involved in that, in terms of like the facial capture and, how you're sort of supposed to read their faces when you're interviewing them. But it's all about money now, I guess. And that's why a lot of games have those, the microtransactions, which shits me to no end. I'm completely sick of opening up a game, and especially a game I paid like $60 for, or $70, whatever it is, and then it's asking me for more money. I get it with mobile games. Most of them are free to play. That's fine. I don't have to pay for it. But if I've paid, 70, $80 for a game, I don't want them asking me for more money so that my guy can have a fancy new helmet and look cool.
Yeah, I see. I don't mind cosmetic things. If they want to sell cosmetic things in a shop, whatever, that's fine. Just don't make it pay to win.
Yeah, and I think that's Breakpoint is having that exact same issue where it's not a great game, from the get go anyway. But there is just so much microtransactions jammed into it. It's getting a lot of flack for it.
I think it's the end of the microtransaction era. Like, I think a lot of gamers are just tired of microtransactions for everything. And it's like, yeah, it's cool if it's cosmetic, but at the same time, like, why are we paying more for stuff that could be easily attainable in the game? Like, that's why I give games like Rainbow Six Siege like the benefit of the doubt, because yeah, you can do microtransactions, but it also gives you the option to earn it in game just by playing the game. Like, you can get loot boxes, well, packs or alpha packs they call it, just by spending renown, which is a currency you earn just by simply getting enough skill points, doing the objective, and playing as a team, and then unlocking it on your own accord. Like, I think that mechanic kind of works, but it's a bit different when you're just simply like, give me $5 and I'll give you a cool helmet. Like, it's like,
yeah, but look, I get it. People pay shitloads of money. I mean, I think when I first got into Fortnite, stupidly, and I figured out like the V-Bucks or whatever it is, their currency. Somebody was telling me like there was this cool new John Wick skin, whatever it was. But like once you converted the V-Bucks into real world money, it was like $15 or $20 just for like a skin, and that's absolutely insane. I don't know why people spend that much money on it. I get if it's like a couple of bucks here and there. But yeah, when you're talking like $15 for like a skin or whatever, an accessory, that's just mind blowing.
It's kind of the same as the perfect example is The Sims. The Sims from EA, like the amount of DLC packs they bring out, which are mostly just skins most of the time. If you add up how much like DLC packs they released just for the Sims 3 alone, it worked out to nearly $1,000 when I worked it out. And it was just DLC packs, and all they did was just give you new costumes and a couple of little extra events. If you bought every DLC pack, it works out to like $1,000.
Sims 4 is just as bad, man. Those packs are about the same price as buying the game. It's crazy. EA is horrible for their bloody microtransactions and that. But I'm not sure it will be the end of an era. I don't think that by any chance. I think it'll continue. It'll just shift towards being just cosmetic with the ability to earn it. But they're going to make it hard to earn. They always do.
Yeah.
I think what's really going to take over is more of these streaming subscription services, similar to like Xbox Game Pass. I mean, you look at Epic Game Store's got a similar thing. Ubisoft's got Uplay Plus now. Sony has PlayStation Now. Like, it's only a matter of time before every like developer is just going to be like, yeah, you want to play our games, you got to give us $15 a month to play all our games.
Yeah, which it's good in theory, dude, but it's one of those things. It's like the Netflix thing where Netflix, they came out, they were like, pretty big. Everyone had Netflix, but now there's so many other companies. Obviously, Disney Plus is like the newest edition. That it's just like, I think at the moment I've got Netflix, I've got Stan, I've got Amazon Prime, and it's like I don't think I could add anything else. So when you're talking games, like Game Pass, it's awesome, but then if I've got to have like a Uplay pass and then an EA pass and then like an Epic Store pass, even if there's $10 each a month, it's still $40 a month just because one place has a game that the other doesn't.
Exactly, and that's what I'm concerned about, like particularly with the next generation coming out next year. Like, and if it goes mostly digital based, like it's just going to get to a point where you're going to end up with like 6 different streaming services just because you want to play Assassin's Creed, but then you can't play Halo or Gears of War 6 or whatever just because you need the Xbox Game Pass, and then you can't play Last of Us 3 or Spider-Man 2 or whatever because you need the PlayStation Now pass or whatever. So you're paying like $60 a month just to play one game that you want to enjoy on whatever platform.
Yeah, you're pretty much buying a new game once a month. If you were to subscribe to all of them, you're buying a new game once a month.
Which may work out better. I mean, if you're getting the AAA games and stuff like that, yeah, it could be worth it. But I just think I don't know. I hope maybe they team up in a sense where at the moment you've got the whole Epic Games and Steam thing going on where they're trying to compete against each other. But I'd like to see like somebody develop like a universal subscription platform where maybe they somehow be able to work with the other companies and have a range of games available that you sort of pay one subscription, say $20 a month or whatever, but you get access to, a bunch of games, not just certain people's games they've developed and they've got their own
And the
storefront.
problem with that is, though, with the way licensing works, especially like, how Netflix, 1 month you have the movies you like, and then next month you're like, oh, where'd they go? It's all, they have to buy licenses for a set amount of time. And so it would be the same kind of deal. So you'd need some decent financial backing to be able to do it to begin with. But that's what's going to happen. You're going to have games rolling in and rolling out. And that's going to leave people with a pretty bad taste in their mouth, I reckon.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, because the only thing that's even more concerning is that, you could have a really good game that comes out, like, I don't know, say Spider-Man 2 on PS4, 5 or whatever. It's out in the store, and then next, a few months later down the track and going, oh yeah, okay, we've got to take it off the store now, so you can't ever play it ever again.
Yeah,
too bad.
Yeah, no, that is a downside I didn't think of actually. Speaking of that, I feel like Netflix listens to when I talk about stuff because I swear every time I hear somebody on a podcast or whatever say, something about a movie and it's on Netflix, and I'm talking like Australian podcasts. I go to Netflix and it's always gone. It happens to be that day that I go to check it out. It's buggered off somewhere else. And I guess, with games, it could be the same thing. And it would be really annoying if you didn't have time to get around to it, say, within the few weeks that it was out. And then by the time you actually get there, it's gone from the storefront. And who knows when it'll ever come back.
Well, that'd be my major concern because, like, with so many games coming out, particularly, like, towards the Christmas period from, like, October onwards, you got big games, AAA games coming out all the time. So I end up with a massive backlog going into the following year for these games that I may have missed that I want to play. And, if they're on separate streaming services, by the time I get around to, actually sitting down to play it, it could be gone already and I won't ever get to play it again.
Well, they're going to have to figure out a way of working that out, or we're just going to become multi-subscription whores, pretty much.
I don't want to be a whore. A big whore.
It's the same with it's the same with the same kind of thing with Netflix and Disney Plus. Like, I think it sucks that now I have to get Disney Plus just because I want to watch Star Wars: The Mandalorian or any Marvel show, because now it's just going to be on Disney Plus and no other platform.
Yeah, and I think the only saving grace there is that Disney is such a huge, like, massive company that they do own a lot of rights to different, movies and TV shows and whatever, that I think that's something I could go in on. But if, I'm trying to think of like a small, like, if, I don't know, if Paramount had their own streaming service, it's like, I don't even know what you guys make, like Mission Impossible maybe. But like if you have other companies start getting their own idea of whether it's games or movies or whatever, it's the same with music. You've got your Spotify, your Apple Music, and Tidal, whatever. There's always going to be other companies that come up. But then hopefully, I think what I've sort of seen as well is you have a bunch of companies come out, and then the ones that are worth it and they have the quality, they stick around. I remember here in Australia when Netflix and all that was sort of big, there was like, I don't know, 10 different companies doing streaming services. And now you've really got the major players, which here is like Stan, Netflix, and Amazon. So the other ones that didn't work out kind of dwindled down. And I guess I'd hope with games, that's the same thing where maybe you've got a bunch at the start of everyone saying, yeah, we'll do it all. But then they team up and, I don't know, maybe there's 3 or 4 services that you can go with. And
well, I could see most of the gaming platforms probably teaming up with someone like Xbox or PlayStation, where they're like, where they team up with the Xbox Game Pass or whatever, and they go, okay, well, you can play our Ubisoft games now on the Xbox Game Pass because Uplay Plus didn't work out, or EA goes, oh, we'll put all our games on the Xbox Game Pass or PS Now or whatever, just because they're like, it costs us too much to run servers. So hey, we'll just sell our rights to it, so you can our streaming rights to our games, so you can use it on your
Which
platform.
would be the smart idea. Let's be honest. They should sell it to both, because what do people play their games on?
Yeah, Xbox or PlayStation.
And then you just do what
Like,
Xbox has done and allowed PC players to play as well. And then, boom, money in the bank. But it's just too political. That's the problem.
Well, I think the problem is you've got like Sony's like notorious for just like not willing to work with anyone. I mean, for the longest time, they wouldn't have like cross-platform play. You've even got like Microsoft and Nintendo. They've got like a certain deal together where you've got like Cuphead on the Switch when it was a Xbox exclusive, where Sony's sort of like in their own corner, like nobody else gets access to anything, and we're not going to work with anyone. They just, for whatever reason, hate working with other gaming companies, and it's like you said, I'd like to see them team up a little bit more.
I think that's the downside to Sony, is just they're not open to the gaming landscape, where it was unheard of before, where you'd see Microsoft games on Switch and all that. And now it seems like Nintendo and Xbox have teamed up together to take down Sony and be like, well, yeah, you might be the highest selling console out there, but hey, we're teaming up together to show you that gamers can work together and be multi-platform.
Do you remember when they were going to bring out Xbox and PS4 servers so they could all play together? And then Sony went, yeah, nah.
So it's just like, we thought about this, and you know what? Screw you guys.
Well, I hated the stance on that, because Sony turned around and said, oh, it's not possible. They just don't have the architecture to do that. Nah, it's not possible at all. And then, Fortnite accidentally turns it on by accident, and they're like, oops, we've turned on crossplay, and people only worked it out because some of the gamer tags had spaces in it, and you can't have spaces in your gamer tag on Sony. So everyone's like, hang on a minute, I'm playing with Xbox players. So then Fortnite's like, well, if a little company like us can do it, Sony's just bullshitting to you all. So,
yeah, 100%. And I don't know what it is with Sony, but I think it's just, they have that. I don't know if it's arrogance. I don't know what you want to call it, but they just very much sort of work within themselves. They absolutely hate. And look, credit to them. They've got a lot of first party exclusives that are like absolutely amazing. God of War, Spider-Man, a lot there that is not on other consoles. And I get why maybe they don't want to share those, because that sort of eats into their pie. And if you look at the sales, PS4's got the biggest install base out of any console. I can't remember the exact figures, but Xbox pales in comparison. And then you've got obviously Switch under that, and PS4 is just up there. But
I think last time I checked, PS4 was about 60 million units or something,
which is insane.
Nintendo Switch just hit 12 million units, so that's actually a big win for them. But overall, I think it's just Sony pretty much going, you know what, we don't need cross-platform play. We've got all these studios making games for us, like Ghost of Tsushima is coming out. They've got pretty much Kojima in their pocket now with Death Stranding. They got Last of Us 2. They've got God of War, that won Game of the Year last year. So I think to them, it's more like, we don't need crossplay. We've got many good games coming out in the future. So who needs cross-platform when we got single-player games that doesn't need cross-platform?
Yeah, well, they got that Sony money, man.
Yeah, they seem to be headed that way with a lot more single-player games coming out.
Yeah, and look, I guess speaking of Sony, obviously one of the bigger things within the gaming world recently is obviously they've released little bit more information about their PS5 console, which is due out holiday 2020, which I think in Australia is sort of like late 2020. So I'd imagine they'd probably look at releasing it sometime around November, October.
Yeah, I'd say be in November probably. That makes more sense. Yeah, traditionally speaking, most consoles usually come out around November, just before the Christmas period.
Which makes sense. I mean, from a business point of view, that's what you want to capitalize on. But it's pretty interesting, I guess, to note that, I mean, look, with this recent console era, the PS4s and Xboxes, I've sort of found it hard to imagine them moving forwards. I mean, when you went from like the 360 to the Xbox One, obviously one of the biggest components was the graphic upscaling. They were able to truly capitalize on the HD, and those graphics just sort of took a huge leap forward. Um, Whereas from what I'm reading, the graphics will obviously get better. It's just natural. That's what happens. But the load times and the way things work within a game, that's what's actually going to improve a lot with the PS5, because they're going to go to like an SSD sort of hard drive. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but there was something out there with about Spider-Man where instead of taking like 40 seconds to load a level, it's going to take 8 seconds or something now. It's almost like instantaneous.
Which I thought was interesting too, because like we have SSD technology, and I mean it's been around in computers for, I don't know, probably about 3-4 years now in computers. And it's like, well, why didn't they adopt this when they released the PS4 Pro? Like when that was out, it was like the SSDs were around back then. So it's like, why didn't you put it in the PS4 Pro, and why didn't Xbox put it in their Xbox One X? Like it's, to me, kind of bewildering that they didn't think of doing that beforehand if they had such an improvement in load times. I mean, sure, it might be a bit more refined technology now with SSD, but still, like even the base SSDs still run
I'm
a bit
pretty sure
quicker.
SSDs were around when the Xbox 360 was out, not the original one.
I think I think they were like new technology back then. And I think if you're talking like the PS4 Pros and Xbox Ones and that, I think the reason they don't include SSDs and that sort of stuff in them is because, from what I've read and understood, is when a game company releases like a console, they actually lose money realistically on that console for the first couple of years because of the development time and manufacturing costs. So each new the Xbox One S and that, they're designed to be less costly to produce. So they're smaller. Yes, there's some upgrades here and there in terms of like the 4K and that, but the reason they do that is to get more sales, but also so they get more of a margin on those products they've been losing out on. So I'd imagine
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
SSDs still being they're cheaper now. You can probably pick one up for like $150, but they're probably still relatively expensive in terms of inputting them, and I'd imagine that they'd have to change internal components to sort of suit the SSD format and whatnot.
Not really.
I
But
suppose at the time, it would have been somewhat expensive to do it, because I remember reading an article when the PS4 first launched. For what was in it at the time, the console should have actually been priced at about $800 to $900 US. And PlayStation took a massive hit in the first few years just to put it out as a reasonable price, because they had the same problem when they launched the PS3, when that was launching around $749 US or whatever, and it was well over $1,000 here in Australia.
yeah,
And back then it was like only like a 60 gigabyte hard drive, if that. Like, so for them,
new technology like the
they didn't want
Blu-rays
to. They didn't want a repeat of that, because that really hurt them when that PS3 first came out.
Yeah, because
and what I guess what I'm
I was going to say you're right, because the reason they wouldn't have changed it is because they would have just been using the bones of the original PS4 and the original Xbox One, and then just swapping out parts to make it a little bit better. So for them to go back, rejig their whole model, because the size of an SSD is tiny compared to a hard drive, so it would have left them with a lot of dead space. The components themselves that connect it into the actual like hardware would have been exactly the same. Shouldn't have been any need to change that, but they would have been left with dead space, possibility of SSDs flopping around in there and whatnot. So it kind of makes sense, because if you look at how tightly packed they are, if you open one up, it would have been more costs in the design and then build phase. So that's exactly why they wouldn't have done it.
Well, I mean, at the same token, like the thing that bewildered me more than anything else when the PS4 Pro came out and the Slim, Sony owns the technology for 4K Blu-rays, and yet they chose not to put it in there. And instead they gave it to Xbox, and Xbox was like, yeah, we got 4K. And Sony's like, yeah, we own the rights to it, so technically you're giving us money anyway, but we're not going to put it in our own console.
Affordability.
Which is kind of comes into the affordability factor, but at the same time, when Sony was asked about it at the time, they were like, "Hey, you guys own 4K. Why aren't you guys putting it in your PS4s?" They were like, "Oh no, we won't worry about it because everything's going digital anyway, so people won't want 4K anyway."
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
that
like,
flopped because that was Xbox's when they first released the Xbox One when they first announced it. It was meant to be like like a whole digital platform, and they had that whole I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically
the
like
TV scenario, the scandal with
yeah,
it. It's
and
like,
then
here's the Xbox One, and here you can control your TV, 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 TV,
Yeah.
TV, 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 TV to TV, TV to TV, TV,
And-
Xbox One TV.
they're gonna have like DRMs on games apparently. So like if you purchased a game, you couldn't like sell it off again or something, and that was a whole big thing where it's like if you as a consumer buy a game, it's your right to be like, I'm done with this. I paid for it. I can sell it for whatever.
Yeah, that was the
need.
biggest thing. I remember watching that event where they revealed it all, and we're going. Xbox was like, "Yeah, we're going to have to DRM, so you got to check it every 24 hours to authenticate the game, and to share your games, you need to own the license to do it, and all this." And then Jeff Keighley, that does the Game Awards, interviewed the guy at the time, Don Matrick, and he's like, "Yeah, but what if you don't have the internet to authenticate your game?" And the guy's just like, "Well, if you don't have the internet, we have a product for that, and that's called Xbox 360. So basically, he was just saying, "Oh, yeah, well, it doesn't matter if you don't have the internet. That's tough luck. You just have to play the 360 instead."
If you don't have the
It's just
internet,
like-
you're stupid.
Oh,
Yeah, so then Sony comes out and is just like on the stage. I'm like, "We won't have any authentication. It'll still have discs. You can share it with your friends, and we won't require you to authenticate your account every 48 hours, or you won't require internet access." And then all the gamers were just like sharing and like, "Sony's amazing," and all this. And it's like, yeah, I kind of feel like that was a marketing ploy from Sony. Like they were leaking like false reports to Xbox to make them jump on the same bandwagon. And then when they come out with the PS4, it was to like shoot them in the foot and be like, "Haha, we're better than you now."
Tactical
yeah, it
espionage.
sounds like it a little bit. Mind you, like, how many times have you used your friend's account, made it the master of your PS4, and downloaded all their games? Like,
All the time. I do it with my
no,
brother.
it's like it's great. It's like I have had more games on the PS4 than ever through friends' accounts. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I've done the same for my brother because he doesn't have a job and, he's a teenager. He can't afford games. So when I buy a game, I'm like, yeah, well, we'll just share an account. I buy the game. We can both play together. Like, it's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, we always find a workaround, man. That's that's what we do best.
Two games for the price of one, basically.
Well, and I guess it's pretty interesting talking about like the Microsoft and Sony and how they sort of compete against each other, because with Sony releasing that sort of small details about their PS5, and we've got like some small tidbits about Project Scarlet from Microsoft, which is their next Xbox. I'm gonna be pretty keen to see coming up towards like probably early next year, when I'd imagine we'd get a lot more info about these consoles, and hopefully maybe even an image of what they actually look like, because
I would imagine so, because when they announced Xbox One and PS4, Sony and Xbox both held their own events at the start of the year, and Xbox was like, "Oh, look, this is a controller, and this is what the console will look like," and then Sony retaliated and was like, "Here's the controller for the DualShock 4. We won't show you the console yet. You'll have to wait till E3." So it's like, oh, okay, righto.
And that's what always that's what always sort of captures me with new consoles, that I guess PC misses out on is, yeah, cool, you've got the new hardware upgrades, that's fine, that happens, but the controllers, that's what interests me, because like the PS4 came out and they're like, we've got this awesome touchpad, you can do all this cool shit with it, and then the first few games always utilize it because Sony probably pay them to make sure that they're promoting that technology. And now, every PS4 game I play, that huge, massive, touchpad is literally the select button. There's almost zero functionality outside of that besides being a big ass
because
button.
people realize it
Yeah,
was
well,
absolutely a
that's-
piece of shit.
And
No, I don't
nobody
think
wants
it's.
to
I think
program
it's.
for it.
I think it's a lot of game developers. Yeah, I think that's right. Like a lot of game developers just didn't have time to program that kind
Because
of
it was
thing.
a piece of shit.
But I mean, like the first party games.
Yeah,
it was
was
alright. Like the
not.
first party
It
games
was
used it.
horrible.
First party games, they used it all the time. If you played Uncharted 4, you could use the touchpad to flick things around and read the back of amulets and things like that. And then if you played Spider-Man, you could use it to zoom across the map and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and in Skyrim, you can just turn one
depends.
toggle while you're looking at an item and it turns things around too. Like, it doesn't need to be that complicated.
It's a console, mate. It's not
I'm
PC.
talking.
All right?
I first
When it-
played Skyrim on Xbox 360,
PC
bro.
Master
So
It was a cool gimmick, all right.
that's
Leave
all
at
it is,
that.
a gimmick.
So
All you need is a mouse
But I guess-
and a keyboard.
And the speaker built into the DualShock 4. That was pretty
Oh.
cool.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
some cool
that was
features, man,
alright.
and I think that's what's interesting. It's going to be like, are they going to just roll with that touchpad? Because one thing they've released is that the PS5 will be fully backwards compatible with PS4 games. So will they have to sort of follow that controller layout, or will they just be able to remap it to a different button? But
I think what they'll do is they'll keep the touchpad, but they may actually change it to like a touch screen. Like I can imagine they would put
Could
like
be
a touch
interesting.
screen with what you have like your party chat, plugging our podcast. But they'd have like your party chat in the actual in the bar maybe, like, or even just like your PlayStation menu where you can just quick access it to stream or to jump to your party chat without getting out of the game. Like that'd be pretty cool.
have it customizable. But then I guess the downside is we've seen that with like the Wii U, in terms of, like, you had like the little sort of touchscreen implemented in there. Different, I guess, it's different the way they implemented it, but the cost of those controllers was absolutely insane because of the screen and technology, and obviously you've got battery life dies pretty quickly. But if they can do it right, like a small LCD screen that you can customize, like you said, put different icons or maybe have your favorite shortcuts there, that would be pretty awesome. And then if games utilize it in an interesting way, I can see that being something of
that
interest.
just
Well, that'd be pretty cool, but they did talk about the triggers as well. Like the rumor is with the new DualShock 5, if they decide to call it that, is that the
They will.
triggers.
It's so stupid.
It's like probably like 99% sure that it would be a DualShock 5. But
it's like with the PS5, they kept saying like, we're not going to announce the title of the console, yada yada. So everyone thought, okay, cool, they're going to like change it, and then they're like, hey, guess what, guys? A new console, PS5. Fucking, of course.
mind
mate.
blowing.
Yeah. What else is it going to be?
Because I remember it used to be like the project name for that was Project Orbis. They called the PS4, and then the VR was called Project Morpheus. And the whole idea was that Morpheus could see through like different realities, and Orbis was like a symbol for life. And they had a lot of things like called PlayStation Life at the time, where it was like, because they had PlayStation Home, which was like a big chat room that was on the PS3. So it was kind of like coming full circle, but ironically they just went, PS4.
Yeah, well, that's it. And then, I mean, look, Xbox have Project Scarlet, which sounds cool, but that's not going to be what it comes out as. And even then, I'm interested to see, because they had Xbox, then they had Xbox 360, then they went Xbox One, which was confusing as all fuck. So is the new one going to be like, is it going to be Xbox 2, or is it? Because then they've got Xbox One X, Xbox One S. They need to differentiate it enough that people know it's a new console, like your
It's
average
getting
you
consumer.
just call it the
Because
Xbox.
the
that's
Wii
the
had
thing,
the same
like-
thing. They brought the Wii U out, and everyone's like, I don't understand. Is this like just an accessory for the Wii? What's the big deal here?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing
it
about the Wii
bombed.
U, and I think that's one of the major factors why it bombed, because the Wii was so popular. People that didn't usually play video games were playing the Wii. So when
Yeah.
the Wii U came out, they just thought, it's an add-on accessory. I don't need it. My Wii's fine. It's like, it's like it's a whole new console, and people were like, oh, I thought it was just a touchpad for the Wii. It's like,
Yeah, and so did I, man. Because when they had that first presentation, all they showed was that gamepad, and they're like, look at this new interesting piece of shit. And everyone's like, okay, cool, it's got a touchscreen, but they never actually showed the actual console itself in those presentations. So nobody assumed, okay, this is a brand new console. It's just an accessory. But that's Nintendo. They do things differently, I guess. It's in their nature.
Well, even speaking of differently, like going back to the Sony thing, the controllers for the DualShock 5, they mentioned it's going to have adaptive triggers in it as well.
Hmm.
So you'll actually be able to feel the difference between what games you're playing. So, for example, if you're pulling an arrow with a bow and arrow, you can actually feel as though you're actually pulling it because it's got like little motors in it that will make you feel like you're actually drawing back the arrow. And like if you're playing like shooter games, it will actually make you feel like you're pushing the trigger of an actual gun, and while you're pushing the accelerator on a car or whatever. But so I thought that was kind of interesting, the technology behind that. Like if they can implement that properly, like you imagine playing Spider-Man 2 when that inevitably comes out, feeling the difference between like Spider-Man actually shooting his webs, like that'd be pretty cool to feel that through the controller.
Yeah, and I think they even said in that article that that the DualShock 5 is going to have the adaptive triggers, but also in a sense, like how the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons have like HD rumble. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that they're going to have. It's not just going to be a standard rumble where it's like like a half counterweight that shakes around. It's going to be like it's going to work with those triggers, so you're going to get like really good feedback from all aspects. Like if you shoot a machine gun or a shotgun, it's going to feel different because the controller will vibrate differently than it would to a different weapon. So the whole user feedback scenario sounds interesting, but I guess it depends. Is it going to come off as a gimmick where, again, like the touchpad, you'll have a few games that use it, and the rest are like, it's a trigger. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
My only concern is the pricing of it, because you imagine if you break one of those or the battery dies on that thing, like the controller itself is probably going to be like $150 in Australia or something just for a new controller.
Well, we get ripped for everything, man. We pay Aussie tax. I hate it. Anything that comes out of here, it's like, yeah, it's $40 everywhere else, but it's $60-$70 here. Enjoy. And I guess like you said, it comes down to cost. But I think with Sony, like we mentioned before, they had that PS3 thing where they launched it at like $1,000 or whatever. I think hopefully they would have learned their lesson now. And I don't think they'll release a console that costs. Look, I think off the top of my head, like more than $500. I think that's sort of like the happy medium for a brand new console. I think if you're talking 700 more, it's a hard investment for some average person to make.
Well, exactly. I mean, when they first announced PS4 in the States, it was like 300 and something bucks, and everyone thought, wow, that's actually pretty reasonable. And it translates to here in Australia, it was like $549 for the PS4.
Yeah.
And at the launch for the Xbox One, it was like $599. So it was only $50 difference to choose between Xbox or PS4 at the time, which is nuts.
It's the same thing. Yeah, Xbox One S, I think, like one of our shops we have in Australia, you can pick them up for like I think $250 or something like that. But then you've still got PS4s. They always compete, but they're just around that price now. They're pretty cheap to pick one up. But with any new hardware, yeah, you pay for it if you want to be a first adopter of it. But I guess it'll be interesting to see sort of where they set that price point at, especially if they're going to jam pack SSDs and adaptive triggers and all that sort of jazz in there. It's got to be cost effective for the consumer, really.
Well, even like looking at like the new Xbox as well that's coming out, rumored to be cloud based as well. Like they're working on the cloud based system at the moment, which is also I think is going to be interesting in the next generation because Google Stadia has now jumped into the ring as well for streaming. They're stating you can play pretty much any game no matter where you are on any phone or internet browser. So it's like, do we really need consoles if Google Stadia is actually as good as they're making it out to be?
Short answer is yes, because in Australia, people may know, they may not, but we have the absolute shittest internet. And I think we're probably one of the slower internet speeds in the world. So I think when you're talking Google Stadia and stuff, I remember when that sort of news came out, a lot of people or publications in Australia were commenting that, our internet's pretty shit. So in terms of being able to run, a 1080p, 30 frames per second game effectively, you'd have to pretty much have top tier, internet connections. And we've had NBN completely go, ass up in terms of we're meant to get the fastest internet, and that just went down the floor. They bugged it up. So that's probably the only drawback I can think of. Not everyone has access to the best internet here in Australia, at least. It's very
Yeah,
touch
not
and
at
go.
all. I've always been worried about the cloud-based systems because I feel like it'll be an absolute nightmare for people over here.
Yeah, we don't have the infrastructure. In America, sure, maybe they've got better internet and stuff. And I guess if you had good internet and great download speeds, I'd have no issues with that. I think that's an awesome thing, and that's going back to like how we're talking about subscription services. If you can pick up a Google Stadia for 150, $200, whatever it is, and then pay $50 a month for whatever games they have on there, and you basically just stream them, that's awesome. But then I guess again you've got to have the internet bandwidth, but also like the download limits because I think most internet companies it's about like 500 gigs, maybe a terabyte. It's not a lot unless you pay through the arse for it. So I think they're sort of maybe jumping the gun a little bit. At least here in this market, we don't have that capacity for it.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose in a sense that kind of makes sense. I mean, not only that, there's a lot of rural communities here in Australia, so it's like the streaming services are good on paper, but yeah, I think you're right. Like for a regional, like someone living out on a farm property or whatever, they're still they play games and stuff, but because there's not much else to do usually. But if they don't have the
Apart from
internet there,
farm.
they're yeah, that's exactly it.
Or
Like
just yell at
they've
the
got nothing
sands.
else. Ride an alpaca or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sit on your porch with a shotgun.
Yeah, they could they could still play games and stuff, and that's where I think the consoles come in. Like they made a big point of that with the Xbox One when they got announced that a lot of servicemen in the Navy and stuff, they're out in the submarines and stuff. They got nothing else to do. They got no internet there. Like they need something to play games on. So
Yeah, well, that's it. But I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what the new console era brings us. But I always find it to be an exciting time. I love new games coming out, but new consoles, it's always that next level of what's it gonna be? What am I gonna get? I used to be the biggest Xbox fanboy, but I play PS4 all the time now, and it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see more information about PS5 and Project Scarlet, and then I guess Nintendo, if they want to throw their hat in the ring and put out like a Switch Pro, which has sort of been a rumor for the longest time, turned out to be, I guess, not accurate because I had the Switch Lite, but um,
I
I
still
think
hear
they're gonna.
rumors about that too, like them talking about the Switch Pro, which
And
to
it
me
makes
wouldn't
sense
really
to a
a
degree.
little bit,
To
but
a degree.
Nintendo have never really been into the pro gaming thing. Though that's the thing that gets me is like Nintendo's always been quality over quantity, and even like on the Wii and the Wii U and in the Switch, there's definitely way more powerful consoles out there. And yeah, the Switch is more powerful than what Nintendo's done previously, but definitely isn't up to par compared to the PS4 or the Xbox One, like even the base models.
No,
So
but
to
I
me,
think
to me, I don't think Nintendo would ever have a pro like console for them. They're like, why do we need to when we got Mario under our belt and Zelda and Pokemon under our belt that all sell extremely well? We don't need a super powerful console to do that. So
no. I think for me when I sort of talk like a pro Switch, console, it's maybe more like I know they had like the revised the Switch that had like a better battery, but like a better battery, slightly more graphical power, basically just a little bit more performance. Maybe like a bigger screen would probably be my one request. So if they had that bigger screen, which obviously would I'd assume need more battery power and CPU power. That would probably be what I would like to see, and especially if you're talking like Breath of the Wild 2, things like that. That little bit extra power might just be able to put them forward a little bit. Doesn't have to be a PS4 comparable game, but I think they just need a little bit more in there. But I mean that's my 2 cents on it.
yeah, I mean, yeah, to an extent, like it would be better to see full HD Pokemon or full HD Breath of the Wild 2 and things like that. But I really don't think Nintendo's ever played that ballpark. I mean, even in the back of the days of like the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation was way more powerful than Nintendo 64, but they didn't really need to do anything to upgrade it because they had good titles like GoldenEye and Smash Bros and all that. So to them, they've always been like, well, as long as we make good quality games, why do we need good hardware? So that's
Yeah.
how they kind of think.
No, and look, it makes sense, man. But I guess yeah, it's exciting times ahead. And I've just sort of looked, and we're reaching the hour mark here with our podcast. So, I mean, do you guys have any sort of maybe final comments on the new console era? Maybe any wishes or wants that you guys can think of?
I think for me, what I'd like to see is just returns of classics. Like we've had some really good classics come back this time around with PS4. Like we've seen Crash Bandicoot come back, we've seen Spyro come back, we've seen Medieval come back. What I'd really like is for Xbox to delve into their classics a bit. Bring back I don't know Blink or bring
Hell
back
yeah,
Perfect
Blink.
Dark.
Yeah.
Bring back Banjo Kazooie. I know a lot of fans want another Banjo game. Like
Oh,
all they have to do is remaster the original Banjo Kazooie and bam, moneymaker.
Yeah, or Conker's Bad Fur Day, man. I think if you remaster that properly again, or even like Conker's Bad Fur Day 2, I think it's obviously gone off on a tangent, but that's where Xbox have been lacking. We talked about PS4; they've got a shitload of exclusives that they just do immensely well, but Xbox, not really. Even Halo, the last Halo to release was a piece of shit. Nobody liked it. So
I think it's because the story was pretty weak and you could finish it in like a weekend. Not even that.
yeah, but I guess it's funny because when you sort of talk back in the past, Halo used to be like the epitome of an amazing single player story packaged with a vastly superior multiplayer experience to anything else on the market. And for a Halo game to come out and then be like single player, it's shit, and then multiplayer, it's pretty average. It's not that great. Halo Reach was better, all that sort of stuff. It just seems like they've dropped the ball. That should be a game that is almost without question, like a 9 out of 10 if you sort of think about it. So
I think that's just Microsoft's problem is that they're not focusing enough on their studios, which I think they've started to realize that, and they've started buying studios now to try and match Sony. But at the same time, it's like you've got a wealth of like games just sitting there that could easily make you money if you just simply just remaster it. Do what they did with Spyro and Crash and remaster the old games, polish it up, make it look good, and then that's it. That's all
The
you
biggest
gotta do.
problem with that, though, is most
That's it.
people, not most people, but it's not in their interest. Like, think about all the old games. They're the size of like less than a USB is now. They're not worth getting renderers in and everything to remake models, and you say that it might sell
I
a
don't know
lot,
about
but it's
that.
not going to cover the cost and make them enough money. Like they redid, Spyro and Banjo and that, but it's just not enough for them. It's like Nintendo will never bring back the old Zeldas and remake those because the old Zelda was let's say the N64 Zelda, it's like 64 megabytes.
Have you not played Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask?
Yeah, but
3D,
they're not like proper
Legend-
remakes.
Link's Awakening that just came out.
No, because they're all on stupid little handheld consoles.
And then they're all elitists here. What do you got against the Switch, buddy?
It's $300, and then not going to fucking spend that much money on a tiny little handheld.
Oh, come on, mate. The Switch is amazing. I love being able to play games and then, the missus comes in and annoys me. He's like, get off the TV. So you're like, okay, just pick it up and walk away.
Yes, yeah.
it's pretty
I
good
don't
for
have
that
the time
stuff.
for that kind of business.
All that funny
No,
business.
no
No
time
time for it.
Too elitist over here.
Right,
Sorry.
Look, I guess speaking of time, we probably need to. We're probably going to wrap it up in a sense of we've reached close to the hour mark now. But look, I guess I've been Good Kent Gaming. We've got Aaron and Mitch from NeoAeia, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, got it.
All right, cool. Because I have a tendency to mispronounce a lot of things. But yeah, look, we've had a pretty good chat, about the new consoles and PAX and whatnot. And just for future reference, this is a podcast that we we're probably going to aim to have out weekly. This is, I guess, our second pilot. We're sort of redoing it, remastering it, if you like. But yeah, I guess if you want to go and follow, you can follow Good Kid Gaming on Facebook, Insta, all that fun stuff. NeoAeia have a great YouTube channel, Facebook page that they've always got the latest news coming out. Follow them. If you want to spell it, Aaron, because I think I'm going to bugger it up.
So yeah, it's NeoAeia. It's NeoAeia. I know it's a bit hard to pronounce and probably find, but if you type it in, we're the only one that has that name, so it should be easy to find once you get the spelling right.
Yeah, well, that's it. But it's good content. So yeah, if you listen to this and you've liked it, go and follow us there. Anyway, I've been Justin and Mitch and Aaron, and that's us. I guess we're Party Chat. This is our podcast, and hopefully we've got some more content coming for you guys in the future.
Yeah, we will do. And I guess we'll see you guys next week for another really good episode of Party Chat.
Definitely.
Hopefully.
Enjoy.